Okay, today I wanted to just sort of present a little video on this new GameStop market phenomenon. No one's ever really seen it before. There's a lot of confluence of new ideas, technologies, philosophies, and frustrations that are all sort of meeting together in this weird interstices of the stock market and the fight against corporate greed, right? So, really cool story. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. Um, I hope you're interested. So, in the last few days, in the past week basically, the stock market prices of a handful of bizarre stocks have been fluctuating wildly. Um, okay, these stocks are AMC, GameStop, Motorola, Bed Bath and Beyond, some very strange stocks. Oh, and Blockbuster, a real weird one, right? Since when has Blockbuster been relevant in the last 10 years? Okay, so I need to give you some context here. We're gonna go back in time to 2007 and 8. In 2007 and 2008, there was a market collapse. A lot of you guys were probably kids back then, but this was a serious collapse. The Great Recession, and this was at the very end of Bush 2 administration and the very beginning of the Obama administration. It was like the very first thing that Obama and Biden had to deal with. So what happens is, due to deregulation under sort of the Greenspan economy and the Clinton era and sort of the Bush 1 era, there's a lot of deregulation in the financial industry, and banks and investment arms and insurance companies are given wild leeway to sort of just do whatever they want. It's starting to become a wild west for investment firms, right? And they start to package these really poor bets, like mortgages, into bundled package, and then these F-rated individual mortgages suddenly somehow become AAA rated bonds and stuff like this, because they're packaged together and we're pretending like there's no risk and blah blah blah. There's risk degradation factors and all kinds of stuff that they talk about in the market, and everything's fine and the market's booming, right? But then we find out that the market's not really doing very well. A lot of banks are way over leveraged on their investment arm, and they're buying up these so-called AAA investment packages so that they can give returns to their stockholders. But it all sort of collapses because people stop paying their mortgages, right? There's a run on mortgages, and mortgages basically just completely collapse because they find out that the banks and mortgage houses and lenders were just giving new homeowners, say a $300,000 mortgage when they don't even have a job. It was insane. Like I said, it was sort of the Wild West, right? And so the economy collapses. At the very end of the Bush administration, Bush leaves, Obama comes in, they pass this enormous, like, $1 trillion package and buy out all the banks, basically, which made a lot of people very angry. You said, you're evicting me from my home, but you're buying off the banks who created this entire calamity in the first place. And the Obama administration's, their excuse was that the banks are, quote, too big to fail. This was this idiom that was going around all the time at the time, that too big to fail, And people are furious. People are furious, and this ends up leading to the sort of the 1%, or the 99%, and the Occupy Wall Street movement of the 2010-2011 period. People are just completely angry at the fact that you've basically kicked us out of our houses. Wages have been stagnant for the last 30 years. You tell us that the free market capitalist system is this way that we can work our way up, but it's not happening, because upward mobility has stagnated and even been in regression for the last 20 years. You also tell us that free market capitalism means that companies that make mistakes will be allowed to go under and go bankrupt, and that new companies, through the system of creative destruction, will innovate and fill the space in the market and will get even better products and lower prices and competition and blah, blah, blah. But that is not true, because you just gave these companies, these banks that completely screwed everyone, $1 trillion or more, and I don't have a house, And so people were just furious, and nothing really came of it. And so we fast forward. There's still this sort of seething anger in the middle and lower classes about what's happening. And now in the pandemic period, we've seen that the top 1% or so are just siphoning money from the system. People are losing their jobs at rates that we have never seen before in the last 100 years or so, and the rich are getting richer. And this is not a political statement. I mean, it's all over the news. I would suggest pick up The Economist. I actually want to show it off. The Economist, I think this is one of the best news magazines on the earth. Find some good news, and find some edited news that is not propaganda on either side, So anyway, the rich have been just doing really well under the pandemic, really, really well, while the bottom and middle classes yet again are bearing the brunt of the pandemic. And so, about a month ago, there was a post on Reddit that said that a very, very large hedge fund management company had bought shorts against GameStop. And GameStop is a big favorite of the Reddit crowd because we're all stuck inside. We're video gamers. They're sort of young. It's a younger demographic, right? So the Reddit crowd sort of gets together and discusses this, and they decide to try to screw with the hedge fund manager, the hedge fund company. And they determine a lot of the shorts that this hedge fund is betting, and those include the companies that I suggested earlier: Blockbuster, Bed Bath & Beyond, GameStop, etc. So AMC theaters, whatever. So the Redditors start just snatching up. They decide in a single day, and I should mention this all happened after also Elon Musk came out and sort of poked a finger at these people and said, "Go get them." And so that happened, and thousands of people across the country, nearly instantaneously, all in the same hour, basically, started buying up these stocks. Buying. And they're penny stocks, basically. I mean, it costs nothing. A lot of these stocks, because they're bargain basement companies, right? Like, who the hell wants Blockbuster stock, right? But here's the bizarre thing. Because there's so much movement in the system, the stock value is skyrocketing. And then we find out that Elon Musk and other companies are starting to pump money in with the Redditors to push the stock market up. And so this hedge fund company is losing its shirt on the shorts because the stock went from like $1 to $300 overnight. And of course, if you're suggesting that the stock is going to go is going to have less value over time, you've just lost your shirt. And so this hedge fund manager comes out this morning or maybe last night, and he says something about he's angry that these Reddit users are stealing all of the money that he earned during the pandemic, and that just made people even more angry. And then yesterday they had to shut off. I don't know about had to. I shouldn't really say it that way, but some of these apps which have made this really possible for the very first time, right? I started this with this confluence of events, right? It's this confluence of the philosophy of the frustration with the hedge fund managers in the financial market and those who sort of manipulate it at the very top, right? Who play that game. There's also the pandemic, which is forcing everyone inside. And it's also, it's reducing the amount of your income that you spend on extras, right? Like going out or having a date or going to a movie theater or taking your fam on like a weekend vacation or something. Now we have that extraneous money sitting around. Even if it's just a little bit. I saw a story about a couple yesterday that invested $35 in this, and now their money's worth like $4,000. And so, it's just small chunks of money. Like, okay, I have an extra $10 sitting around. I'm going to buy a piece of a stock, And we also have, okay, so that's number one is the philosophy, this frustration building. Number two is the pandemic is forcing people inside, reducing their expenditures, so it's giving them they're thinking about new things to spend. And then number three, you have these new technological apps hitting the market. Apps like Robinhood, which I was talking about earlier, which make it possible to buy very small pieces of stocks, right? You don't have to have a stockbroker with his time and all this to buy your stocks and to manage your portfolio. Like, you can do it right on your phone. And they're minimizing the fees that you have to pay, and they're making it very easy, and they actually got in trouble recently for like gamifying it, and they had to pay a pretty hefty fine for gamifying their app. It's not a game, it's an investment, and it's a risk, and the court said stop doing that. You need to make it serious because people could lose a lot from this. So there's so much happening. There's so much newness in the system. Economists have never really seen this before. We don't know what's happening. So it's going to be very fun to see in the future. So, this confluence of events, they buy up all of this stock. It skyrockets. The short sellers, their value just collapses overnight. They're angry. How dare you little people steal our investments, there's some of that seething frustration at the top too, which is very interesting. So it is absolutely wild. And yesterday they had to turn off the apps for a little while and say, you can't buy this. And then wildly you get two extremes from their parties, right? You get Ted Cruz over here, who is a Republican senator, and then you get AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is like a far-left senator. So you got far-right and far-left going, we've got to do something about this! And how often do you ever see something like that happen, where someone from both sides is like, that's enough of this! So it is going to be absolutely wild to watch. They have reinstituted people's trading rights to a small degree, but they haven't completely opened it back up. So I will try to give you a little report maybe next week on what's going on and what they're deciding. They're talking about changing the trading structure altogether. They're talking about putting limits on. They're talking about all kinds of stuff, but we haven't really seen a response. It's still chaos right now. So stay tuned, and I'll get your other lecture up today, and we'll have some other stuff. So anyway, I thought you might enjoy this. It's really wild, and I really just explained like what's happening. I don't really have much information on why it's happening or what we're going to do about it or what the consequences are, because I don't know. And that's kind of fun. So anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. I woke up early on a Friday morning and thought I'd talk to you all. So have a great day. Stay happy and healthy, and keep working hard. Bye.